some kind of important, relevant, and contextual things to be taken care of, done, to be borne in mind in this kind of a corona pandemic we are currently going through. Friends, you must be aware of what you must have heard of IHMR University, but still I'll just spend a minute telling you about our university. It was a 35-year-old unique niche institution which has contributed immensely to public health and health management, education and research in this country. And we were the IHMR was the pioneer in launching the first ever health management MBA course way back 2 decades back almost. And then we continued with this journey of experimenting and innovating with sectoral MBAs, which is actually our DNA. And in that regard, we also then went on to talk about and rural management, because we thought rural management connects very well with the whole vision of IHMR, which is of improving standards of health of people and strengthening health systems. Now, in India's case, this kind of a vision translates into a lot of rural areas. So it was very correct on our visionaries, leadership to seed in a whole MBA program dedicated to rural management. Now, uh, this was done in the ages of School of Rural Management. Now it's called School of Development Studies. But more important is, I think, because we were born in around 2010-11, we as a school and as a MBA rural management program are quite unique and different from many of the rural management programs in this country. I think what first and foremost distinguishes us from the other existing programs is our very clear emphasis not only on rural. I think we are very conscious of the fact that India is passing through a rapid transformation, and that rapid transformation is melting away the boundaries between rural and urban. It's creating dynamic spaces which are rural urban continuum. So this is exactly the niche where we try to bring lot of understanding, knowledge, education to this kind of a wish. Uh, the other thing which also we do share with other management, rural management programs, but we again are unique in some sense that we dedicate almost 40 to 50% of the program to field-based learning, which is immersion with practitioners, learning sites with very big, credible national and international CSOs. Uh, Today, I have a very special team of panelists with me. I mean, they are, I'll introduce them to you one by one. Uh, to my side is Mr. Neeraj Prajapati. Neeraj is a student, a pass out of the first batch, the pioneering batch of the MBA Rural Management in IHMA. And he has a very experienced checkered history for working at the grassroots for initial years, then going into CSR work, and now you can see that he is actually a sought after master trainer specializing in agro value chains of organic products, especially ginger and stuff like that, with the ICI Rural Self-Employment Training Institute, which is a arm of the ICI Foundation. Uh, then Indrajit has joined with us. Hello, Indrajit. Indrajit also is the is a student of the first batch. I mean, he's somebody who brings a lot of experience to the table. I mean, he was somebody who joined the rural management with actually a working background. So he was always a very different kind of student, I guess. He is as of now working, you can see, I mean, he is working he's helping a community health project uh, in Gorakhpur, uh, but which is supported by Tata Trust. Indrajit also has had a very, very long innings in Reliance Foundation, where he was actually instrumental in almost pioneering and setting up one of the biggest programs which Reliance Foundation launched, which was Beach Bharat India Jodo, which was a huge initiative on promoting organic farming and kitchen gardens to contribute to nutritional security. Welcome, Indrajit. I mean, we look forward to very interesting discussion with all of you.
Thank you, sir.
Then Deepali is there. I mean, she is again. I mean, she is alumnus from the second batch. Uh, she also has a very vast experience in these short years. She was also working in that beach mission of Reliance Foundation for a number of years, 4 or 5, if I'm not mistaken. And as of now, she is working in Mahindra and Mahindra. And Dipali brings to the table lot of experience of CSR and agri business combined into how that helps empower rural farmers, create more important and accessible value chains, etc. Uh, then we have a guy with a beautiful background in the as a wall painting, Mr. Tarun, who is also alumnus of the second batch. And Tarun is again somebody who is different from these three people I've introduced to you. Tarun is somebody who is very deeply embedded in the government system. He is part and parcel. He's a project manager of a in Rajasthan Livelihood Skills Mission, and he looks after a very key, very, very important area of the livelihood mission, which is skills and convergence. And possibly skills and convergence is one area which is going to have lot of things to share and intervene in the post-COVID development recovery scenario we are looking at. So welcome, Tarun. We look forward to good discussions with you.
My
And
pleasure, sir.
I will also take this opportunity to welcome my senior colleague and former dean, Dr. Gautam Sadhu. He also, I mean, he will be also helping and facilitating interaction with people, and also sharing some of his own insights on the kind of work he has been doing, especially closely following the plight of migrant workers, and also trying to track the disaggregation of the schemes announced by the state for enhancing recovery. So guys, welcome to all of you. I mean, I will not take more time now. I will request you to please enlighten us and our audience of 2 or 3 important things, which people like you who are young professionals and who have I see a lot of things which you will have to contribute. This coming phase might be a game changer in your own careers and the way you contribute. So we really look forward to a lot of discussion with you. Uh, First of all, people have been talking, you've been hearing, I mean, it's all there in the public media also, possibly rural development, rural management, rural areas never figured so prominently in the public domain as they have been figuring in the last 2 months. And this is something which is not going to die down, it's only going to amplify. And so it's very important that at this juncture, instead of uh, making opinions only based on a lot of public domain kind of messaging about rural areas, it is good to hear from experts like you, from specialists like you who have ears and eyes close to the ground, who daily breathe in and out the rural realities, try to empower them, try to change them. So, I mean, I'll request one by you please deliberate on, let's say, uh, what are the kind of key priority sectors, key areas of recovery which you see are going to be very important. And if you can also help us say what is going to be the priority? I mean, how are we going to decide which areas should be taken first and which later? So maybe, I mean, we would really like to your views on that. Maybe Neeraj, you could start, sir. I mean, if you are able to hear me, you can unmute your mic. I mean, it's
So, thank you, sir. Uh, so, first of all, it's a great opportunity, and I would like to thank IHMR family for providing me this opportunity to share my experience on this very vital issue, post COVID-19 opportunities and current challenges in uh, COVID-19 phase. Okay, so let me tell you very frankly that we all are facing many problems due to COVID-19 in development sector, and all the sectors, not only development sector, but all sectors are facing many problems due to COVID-19. Okay, and one of the biggest problem which we are facing is just due to the migrant workers which are coming uh, from Maharashtra, from Gujarat, from Madhya Pradesh, and Maharashtra, from Bihar and Uttar Pradesh. So this is the biggest problem, that these people are coming from various locations, and government is facing a huge problem in terms of their livelihood and their safety. So livelihood and safety is the biggest concern for the government right now, because these people are coming from an infected location like Maharashtra and Gujarat and Rajasthan and MP, where we can see the huge number of cases of corona already. So now it is responsibility of the government, and now it is a tension of the government how they can resolve the issues of health and safety and livelihood of this mass. Okay, so government has already started many kind of initiatives, like providing a free a free meal or a free ration to migrant laborers, also arranging buses to uh, to shift them there at their location also. But what is, being a development professional, what we can think about, what should be the best solution, and what we can do in through our experience. Okay, so I would like to be very clear that in recent budget of government, we see that government allotted a huge amount of fund, 40,000 crore rupees for Narega only, because we know that there is a huge opportunity if we increase the fund in Narega, and if we increase the number of days in Narega, so that maximum people can get livelihood from Narega. So that's why government started thinking about investing in government schemes first. Second, there are many schemes which will come in coming days, like FPO programs, like in agriculture department, in dairy schemes, in poultry schemes. I will majority of the part I will cover in livelihood, because I have experience of working in livelihood sector only. So government is mostly focusing to provide livelihood activity, to engage these migrants in livelihood activities, so that they will have some means of livelihood at the end. Because if they will not have any kind of support to survive their life, what will they do? And this is the and one more the question is that we know that this crisis will remain for one or maybe more than 1 year or 2 years. Okay. So now we have a problem that what will happen. So now the government is focusing how they can engage these migrants, these laborers, these people in some kind of livelihood activity. So Narega is one of the solution. Another solution which I think that that can be incorporated by the government, and definitely it will be one of the solution, imposing of FPO programs. FPO programs will be the great initiative by the government, by the NGOs, by the CSRs, so that they will have a good source of income for the farmers. Another program which I think that will be very beneficial for the community, for the people of rural area, and it will be SHG program, because we have a number of stories around that the corpus amount of SHG people is helping them to take some expenses, to to cater some expenses, daily expenses in this duration, in corona duration. So I think that SHG program will be a big game changer in coming days, because government have to watch, and we have we have heard in the news that recently UP government has already issued a good amount of fund for SHG project. So now I think that government, these are the key priority area for the government, like government schemes, FPO programs, SHG programs. So this kind of programs will we see in coming days, and these programs will have a good opportunity for development professionals in coming days also. One more thing, that these people which are coming from various locations, they have some certain kind of skills. Okay, might be they are in might be they are construction worker, might be they are from working in handicraft industry, might be they were working in dairy industry in Bombay, in Gujarat also. So now they have come back and they have some certain kind of skills. So now our skill department have also one more responsibility to use their skill in a good manner, so that they can start some self-entrepreneur in their village itself, so that this income, or this there will be wage can help in generating their livelihood also, and it will also boost up our economy also. So this is from my side, that in coming days we will see huge opportunity in livelihood sector. And of course challenges is there, but we have to be we have to fight, we have to adjust with the challenges of corona. We cannot ignore the challenges of corona. Right now we all are facing, and we have to face until we do not get any kind of any vaccine, proper vaccine for the corona. Okay. And of course that health sector, of course government will doing huge work, and of course there will be huge opportunity in health sector in coming days. But right now what I can see from my point of view, that there will be good opportunity, and there will be good scope in livelihood sector, microfinancing sector as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Neeraj. Deepali, would you like to add something? Your mic is on.
Yes. So as rightly pointed out by Neeraj, that there is a huge scope underlying in the livelihood sector, because we have seen that COVID-19 in many ways has been said as a great equalizer, but at the same time we have also known that how it is not been such an equalizer, because there are many gaps that we had found, and those are the systematic gaps which have just erupted all of a sudden in front of us. Now this pandemic has affected those people who are at the margins especially, and they make us rethink, they make the professionals working in the development sector rethink, debate, question and what not, that how we can repurpose our rural strategy, and which is be focusing on the economic opportunities which are in the rural market, in the rural area, and creating the better services infrastructure which will be ensuring the security of people living in the rural settings. Security, when I say so I mean that social security as well, livelihood security, nutrition and food, water security, and also there should be ensuring the dignity of labor for the people who are coming back as a course of reverse migration. Now there is a thing that the primary focus will be on the agriculture sector, because there will be a lot of pressure with the increasing consumption of the food grains, and we have also seen that amidst the lockdown, the agriculture sector is ongoing. It has not stopped, unlike the other sectors like textiles and auto or etc. So what has been overlooked though is that the far bigger unorganized fruit and vegetable sector, which has also continued to function. Milk, the milk chain is also the one example, and the credit lies with the cooperative for the same. Now there is a in the first part of the lockdown, we have seen that the states like Madhya Pradesh and Maharashtra, which typically harvest their rabi crop like gram and wheat much earlier than the northern India. The harvesting of the wheat is continued despite there is a severe shortage of labor and various challenges like machinery, inputs, etc. So amidst that, the harvesting has been done, which shows that the agri sector has a very resilient base, and it is run by the farmers who are the bedrock for our the entire agriculture economy. And these farmers are supporting the two-thirds of the population, and they are also contributing to the 15% of the GDP of the country. So this shows that it is a great opportunity to pitch in for the advantage of the country and the people. Now, in addition to this, also there is a changing personal and the behavior, social behavior, so which leads to the economic change. Now, looking forward, if there is no universal access to COVID-19 vaccine in the coming month, suppose 1824, which has been predicted, so the businesses will be in the safer sectors like agri sector or the livestock, etc., manufacturing. They will be continue to likely to do well, but the business who are at high risk may not restart their operations, and in that case the biggest obstacle of lies is the liquidity obstacle for both for any of the enterprise. And government has done reforms like introducing the stimulus package to overcome that, but again the end-to-end execution will be a matter of concern. And in the contrast, when we see the rural setting, the risk is very least, because there is naturally easier to maintain the physical distancing and the outdoor work. So this creates a shift to focus from the urban to the rural market, both in terms of demand and production. Sectors in the agriculture like livestock, fisheries, dairy, and vegetable processing of food are the much labor intensive and high value yielding sectors. So many decades of neglect in the social research and development towards these sectors, the market access gap, and on and off of policies for export, market distortions, etc., present the adversity that it is the right time to pitch in to this sector. Now, it would also need support from the suitable policy framework and reforms, like there should be the pricing policy for the agri produce, tax, market access improvement, credit and rural infrastructure strengthening, and there should it should must have the warehouse and cold storage, because again it is unknown that how long it will be continuing. The next 2 years, how we learn to live with the coronavirus can redesign the economy towards a safer and more sustainable production and consumption with the agriculture and rural economy, rather than its weakness. So I find that this sector has a good scope, and saying that the return of the reverse migration. The migrant workers who are returning, as Neeraj rightly pointed, that they have many skills. So this is also the new area where we can pitch in to improve the other domain of the rebuilding the rural infrastructure like schools, ICDS centers, improving the public health, primary health care centers where there is a gap existing. So this is
Thank you
my
very much. Tarun, without repeating many of the things which already.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. The many important points has been put out very wisely by my colleagues. From my point of view, like what government are planning as working with NRLM, I feel that the bigger problem is returning migrants, reverse migration. So job and employability of those migrants, skill development of those migrants, rural health structure, rural health system that works at block level, cluster level, and at the level that the people will come and get segregated, find their jobs and all. That would be the more focus area for the government right now. So if we talk about vertical wise, community awareness, that also brings a major change in a society for the people who are coming back to their home from state to state, from Gujarat, Maharashtra, and many other states. So community awareness is one of the thing that government is focusing on through gram panchayat level, from SHG movements, from other community-based institutions that they have formed in frame of Rajivika and all other. Like I said, and people have repeatedly said, that role and prevention and in an immediate manner and their rehabilitation for the long term would be the focus for the government. Like if we go beyond these, so like banking system, online transactions would be also the major focus area for the government. Like we came to know that Atmanirbhar Bharat is a mission that has been started to facilitate these rural poor, to boost up the economy, to boost up the things that has been gone wrong. So I feel Atmanirbhar Bharat will focus on small areas where industries, cottage industries, migrant laborers, small industries and other, so that they can get some money in their pocket, and then the rural economy can boost on. Apart from it, MKSP, which is a Mahila Krishi Sashastikaran program, which also focuses on agri marketing, that has been came with an advisory that has to focus on dairy production, agri marketing, backward and forward linkages, and fisheries, and etc. Things that livelihood programs came for. I think now the situation has been like poor will become more poor, and the debt ratio, the debt has been increased in their own way. So one nation, one ration card is a program that for migrants and for the rural poor, it is in the focus of NRLM, so that they can get access to their ration needs PDS distribution system, so that they can get the things what is fundamentally needed for this time, and fundamentally needed for this time. I mean, major things have been covered. So I feel CSR funds will go down because the business will go down, so the automatically CSR funds will also go down. If we talk about role of the development professionals, what would be the role of development professional? I feel that the moreover or less, now the role of development professional has been changed. I feel it should be more focusing on promotion of social enterprises. Social, because now a term that what was the role 10 years before, and now the things has been changed. Now they have to be more data analytical, information communication and tools have to be adapted in every sense. So the things have been changed, and social work is more or less a social enterprising.
Okay, Tarun, I'll request Indrajit to finally wrap up this comment which his Alban's colleagues have made. And maybe Indrajit, please, I mean, your wise words.
Thank you for this opportunity, and more thanks to this Rahul Ghai sir and Gautam Sadhu sir. You have given me opportunity to talk about this priority area of the government and CSR. From my point of view and where I am working, I am looking this pandemic in a different way. There are three, there are short term, medium term, and long term. Short term, definitely all the governments and the CSR are taking their measures like providing these meals, arrangement of travels, everything they are doing, providing the required material, hygienic material, these are things. But later on, when this lockdown are going to be lifted out, then what are that? But from looking into this, all the conversation everywhere going on, even I am seeing on the field, the far most priority of the government, even CSR, will be the health sector. In health sector also, they are going to more focus on providing primary and preventive health care. Because if we have seen, okay, these are the infectious disease, these are very contaminated and spreaded through the community. So they are more focused on community awareness, raising community awareness, preventive measures, sanitations, cleanliness, wash intervention. After that, we'll focus on educations, livelihoods. Livelihood is a immediate concern, but in long term, when the times passes, people definitely come up with their own way of livelihood generations, and definitely this reverse migration also not a permanent. This is my point of view, because if you see the moment this government have started booking of this train tickets, I think lots this one of the train there all tickets are booked. They are this all the returned migrant people are again book the ticket to go Surat. So these are the temporary phase, and but in this temporary phase, there are lots of anxieties. This one anxiety in terms of like okay, how we are going to survive further and what are the implications further. But these are the three area I think government is and even CSR is going to, that is the healthcare, this educations, then livelihood. These are the things. And how, if we see where they are going to work, my point of view, if we see the recent development, even in Tata Trust also, this we have seen this recent development. They are going to focus on all aspirational districts. There are 126 aspirational districts in out of 26 area. So here also, because these are the aspirational districts, there's all the basics, health indexes and this social education indexes, school health, school indexes are very poor. So and even government, even Modi ji emphasizing, even Niti Aayog are suggested all those CSR, this big organization, put your money into these areas. So once these are the these are the very backward, and in terms of their backwardness is from the long time. So no intervention has taken place in that. But recently, after the government push, let's the example of Jharkhand and Orissa, they have in certain parameter, like even in healthcare indexes also, they have developed far better than UP and Bihar. So these are the things. And if you go further for the opportunity and scope for the rural development professionals, I think in current situations, more things will go into the rural area. So more requirement of the rural development professionals, and more because by Delhi, Chennai, Bangalore, AC offices, but there is a huge scarcity of good professionals at ground, and their skills required at ground level. Then only we can scale anything. Like for example, in recent this COVID, we have got lots of SHG. I think Neeraj and they talked about SHG. We are not working with SHG, but in this recent pandemic situation, we have approached one SHG group. They are having around 400 SHG women in that. Out of that, we have selected around 2 to 20 SHG women. So we have provided them only one initial corpus and guidance. Now they are preparing a triple layer cloth mask and they are supplying to the government. So where it comes, no ordinary person at the ground. These things will happen, and these changes will come only when a professional guy, any professional, I mean, manager skill guys, those who looking opportunity and having willingness to scale up at different level. So my point of view on this is, at ground level, if any professionals wants to come and work, they are having ample opportunity, and there is a scarcity of skillful, resourceful professionals.
Yeah, thank you. In this, before I invite Dr. Gautam ji also to share some of his views on the key priority sectors, I mean, I'll just take a minute, because I think Indrajit did discuss a very important thing that maybe there is going to be a lot of opportunity, need, etc., etc. And now with your, I mean, it's a question to all of you. I mean, with the kind of experience you already have had, and what kind of thing today would you like to, tell the young aspirants, young people who want to, carve out a career, but career which also adds up to their societal contribution to bettering India. Because post-COVID situation, everybody, whether he's a householder, whether he's an office goer, whether it's a state, whether it is CSR, everybody has to play a role in reconstruction. I think it's a very, very collective responsibility the crisis has put to our society. Now, in this kind of a situation, what are the key things you would like to, share with young people, let's say people who are 10, 11 years younger than you, thinking of, branching off into adventurous, good life. And then we'll get Gautam sir. So very quick, one line by all of you will be highly appreciable.
Yeah, sir, that's a great question. I would like to answer in a one line that this field gives a pleasure more than a money. The aspirants who are planning to come forward for this rural development sector, they should think of pleasure, society development, and things which they can change around with an administrative support and social gathering. Thank you.
Uh, uh, from my point of view, I think far most I am looking any developing professional their attitude towards working in a development sector. Initial days it will be definitely a little bit hard, but I don't think the later on the days passes they can reach uh, any position or any like a monetary benefit. Also, there is not that much scarcity or lower salary as compared to other sectors. Also, I am not finding that. Also, if you are good, then you will have ample opportunity and excel and get money. Also, it is not that much. It is my point. But I think certain 3 4 skills they must have, otherwise they can't compete and they cannot sit. First, multitasking nowadays, because I am handling a 45, but I can't rely one person. I want my subordinate do this work also, this work also, this work also. So multitasking now a need for young professional. He can't. I do only this analysis. Other things I can't do. Then you are not going to excel in your career. If you have to go into the field also, you have to do analysis also, you have to make documentation also, then only you can create your value in the organization and this one a step up further. Second thing is digital. We know this is the era of digital age. Even development sector, even NGO or wholeheartedly this one accepting this digital change. All data collection, analysis, dashboard, everything is getting digitized, particularly in health sector. All the records are getting digitized. So digital knowledge, that means they have to think through which kind of data we required, how that algorithm they must know, and acceptability and adaptability to digital change in their workplace and work environment. Third thing, that is a diversity and accept this cultural. Like, because if you are working in a development sector, there is a lot of exposure you are going to meet and exposed to many culture. If you are not respect or not accommodate with that culture, then definitely it will be a kind of setback, or it will affect your further progress in that. And as we have seen and learned from the this COVID pandemic, there is nothing permanent. So we have to create a skill or this one attitude like we have to accept any changes, any setback with wholeheartedly. Then only we can succeed further. Because nowadays, what we have seen, the young professionals, they are very easily get disheartened, leave the task. They always come into their comfort zone. They very reluctant to move out from their comfort zone. So these are the this one setback for further career growth. These all things I'm telling on my personal experience, what I'm going through daily. So for hiring, we are not very keen to how much he is having this technical knowledge or subject knowledge. Because during the job, he can learn, she can learn. And we are in any organization, they are having for any recruitment, they are having their own set of training or skill upgradations. All those things are going on. But these are the things that are very much inherent and dependent on the particular individuals. So these 4, 5, and always learn for always set a mindset for learning attitude. Always ready for learning new things. Accept challenges. If you're not accepting challenges, then it is very difficult to grow further. Whatever things. If you are because I have seen many of the people, those who are coming from the professional colleges having MBA degree. No, I can't go into the field. How come? Why you can't go to the field? Field is the one thing you will go and learn from there only. Then only you can then only you can draft any proposal, any plan, and that will be implementable. Otherwise, it is not. But I have faced in this project only during tenure of 2 years, I have seen 2 to 3 professionals. So they are from the Premier Institute, but reluctant to go into the field. They are very much क्या बोलते हैं बहुत आराम से they are very much for this desktop kind of job.
Thank you, Indrajit.
So, yeah.
Thank you, Indrajit, for sharing. Neeraj and Dipali, please be brief so that
Yes,
we can hear Dr.
Only
Sir.
one line.
Yeah. So only few points, because already Tarun and Indrajit had covered a lot of points based on their personal experiences, and I will also add to them out of my experience in the journey so far in the rural setting. So as rightly said that one should be very learning, but besides that, we are working with the community on ground, and they are farmers, they are laborers, they are women, they are child, they are adolescent. Different segments are there. So the one has to be very empathetic while working in the field, because when you step into their shoes, you learn to listen to them. Then only you get to know and connect with them, their challenges, their problems, their pain points. Then only you will come up with the next plan and what you are required to do with them. So this is the thing, that you should have one empathy while working with the field. And besides that thing, you should also learn from the mistakes, because this is not a raw material kind of thing that you are giving input and the output will come. They are the actual human resource, they are the actual people, and you are dealing with the people there. So it is very much possible you will fail in the first attempt, second attempt, or third attempt. But be dedicated towards your work and learn from your failures, learn from your mistakes, and just do what best you come out with them from those learnings, because it is a very experimental field. Other thing which I feel that soft skills are also required apart from the core modules and what is being taught in the college. Soft skills in terms of integration of technology and digital in all the aspects of your work, be it a presentation, be it Excel, be it a spreadsheet, etc. You have to be acquainted with all the technology and digital front aligned with your work. Next, I feel for the post-COVID era, I think that the professional should should build an interest towards the policy analysis and governance, because this is the new world we are entering, and all the existing policies are in the edge of further reformation or analysis, and then tweaking will be done further. So this thing is also a point of concern. Next is, I think that advocacy of your own work. You should know how to advocate your work. You should know how to network. These skills are also important for the aspirants of the sector.
Okay, so before I get Neeraj in, Deepali, one quick question. Is the rural sector, I don't call it rural sector only because we are living in a time which has multiple interconnections between rural and urban, and we very often go through both the geographies. It is actually a field which lies at the, I'll say, at the intersection of what is rural and what is urban. So Dipali, is it an exciting field for girls? I mean, do girls, I mean, you came
Yes,
from a city, today you're talking like you're from a village, but I mean, is it an exciting field for girls?
yeah, I think it is most exciting and most challenging field also to for the girls, especially to just deep inside, just to know what is your capacity and how great you can perform when you come to know how great things you can do. So in the beginning of my career itself, I was like in the internship. I had my 2 months internship with Reliance Foundation. So we are allowed to do 7 days village stay in 3 of the villages. So the internship, then dissertation, then the base location postings after the placements. So the initial period are like some problems come, like meeting raat ko hota hai, and
Okay, I think we have lost Dipali for a while, I guess.
yeah. Am I audible?
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
now audible. Please carry
Yeah.
on.
So the team ratio for the men and women is also very create difference. So but I think that what I had taken up and what is my principle all those years is just do what you feel right. Just learn what is your capacity inbuilt, what you can do further, and just believe in yourself, because challenges are many, but this sector is equivalent for both male and women,
Okay,
female and
thanks
male.
so much. Yeah, Neeraj, please.
Sir, as my colleagues Tarun, Indrajit, and Dipali, they have covered lots of things. But what I would like to share that this sector is follow the principle of Darwin, survival of fittest. So if you are fit for this sector, you will be survive for long times. So in my point of view, for coming experience in development sector, or the experience who have 1 or 2 years of experience, they should have 5 skills if they want to survive in this sector for longer time. First is that should have good command over content development. Writing skills should be good, because it will pay you a lot in your job, in coming job also. Second one is LFA. And recently I have given many interviews, and they asked me about one skill of LFA, logical framework analysis. And it's very surprising that we being a development professional, we don't know about the importance of LFA. So I think that if development professional can learn the technique of LFA, I think it will be good for them in their project management also. And third one is model village concept. It is very fancy and it is very important concept right now, model village concept. So I think that professionals should learn the model village concept. And I think if they have certain knowledge of model village concept, I think many organizations will like to hire them.
Okay.
Fourth one is
Neeraj, I'll just quickly get in Dr. Sadhu also, who has been patiently listening to all of you.
Right.
It's really a delight to listen to all of you after so many years. Many thanks for it. Sir, Gautam sir.
Yeah, good. I think very impressive discussion. I was really impressed with the discussion and the experience you gathered in last 5 to 10 years, after doing the MBA in the rural management from the IHMR University. I think most of the things are covered. I want to stress only few things, if you see, we talk a lot about the reverse migration, and if you see the figure, around 32% of the the India's population as per the 2011 are the migrant labor, And most interestingly, the most important source stay of the migrant labor are of the Uttar Pradesh, followed by closely by Madhya Pradesh, Punjab, Rajasthan, Uttarakhand, Jammu Kashmir, West Bengal, and the main destinations are the Delhi, Maharashtra, Tamil Nadu, Gujarat, Andhra Pradesh, and Kerala. And interestingly, the main destination states of the migrant like Maharashtra, Delhi, Andhra Pradesh, Gujarat are badly affected by the COVID-19. And on different study also it has came that due to the behavior they got, the migrant labor got from the city and from the labor contractor, as most of them work for the labor contractor, and even they don't know the name of the owner where they work. So whereas the major state, where the migrant labor comes are rich in natural resources. Take the example the Jharkhand, the Bihar, the West Bengal, it's rich in the coal mines. Similarly the bauxite, iron ore, magnesium at Odisha, the diamond and other things at MP. And moreover, the if you see the states, that the rainfall is also good, the climate is also good. So I think as a rural management professional, policy making also you are contributing, and besides the implementation also, I think I strongly recommend that skill mapping should be done, because the people, majority of them will not return to the original places, where they work. So there's a lot of scope, and so based on this, the mapping, skill mapping, we have to do the strategic planning, and most of the thing has been taught in the MBA rural management. So the MBA rural management and the development, the MBA in the development sector, you have a lot of roles, and you can change the whole of the total scenario that is there. And if you see the Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan launched by our Prime Minister, the same thing has been emphasized. That is the 5 pillar. That means stress on the local self-reliant, the economy, the infrastructure. Third is the technology based. Fourth is the demand and the vibrant demography. So these are the 5 pillars, which has been stressed, and whatever the speaker you are already told is based on that. And for that, what we need is, and government is also trying, and the CSR and the government both should stress some bold reform, and that is on the supply chain reform for the agriculture, the rational tax system, the simple and clear laws, capable human resources, and the strong financial system. And this is the first challenge, that is the employment for this migrant labor, this the workforce, that is the foremost challenge. Second challenge I see, and that much we didn't discuss in this forum, and that is the mother and child nutritional status. You see, as you know from the NFHS 4 report, that under 5-age children, around 38.4% were stunted, 21% wasted, and 7.5% severely wasted, and underweight was 38.5%. And due to this lockdown effect, this coronavirus effect, there was a study by the UNICEF and the Save the Children, and that's they told, around 86 million people, the household, will reach to the below poverty line, and of course 15% more children will fall under the category of malnutrition. So this is also a major challenge, so we have to take further, and
yeah. Sir, Gautam sir, yeah, please carry, sir, please carry.
Yeah, and third thing is third challenge is on the public health, So we have to change the behavioral change, behavioral change communication should be the permanent type of a structure. It should not be the fear-based, It should be that, okay, this is our culture, So this should be adapted in the culture. And the last thing that I want to say before we take the question answer, that is we have to shift, our thinking, our way of working, and we have to develop a different communication skill, a different analytical and research skill, the flexibility, adaptability, interpersonal abilities, ability to make decision and solve problem, and we have to, as you have rightly pointed out, we have to wear multiple hats, the leadership and management skills is of course necessary, So these are the things that is needed, So three challenges that I see it. One is, the livelihood, the employment for this marine labor. Second is the malnutrition for the children and health. And then, of course, cover the agriculture and the allied sector also. And third is the public health sector, especially the behavioral change communication.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. I think if I see at the question answer, which I can see, there are a lot of questions which I think our expert panelists have answered also, and some maybe which can get some kind of imagination of what can be the answer. There's one particular question which is a very unique question by some Biplab Maji. It's an interesting question. I mean, I don't know who will pick it up. It's called, do the environmental benefits seen as a result of this global slowdown hint at potential positive impacts of a Green New Deal? If somebody wants to answer this, it's a very interesting question. Would somebody want to answer it? I mean,
you can take up round, yeah.
Sorry, should I say it?
Yeah.
Okay. I think I personally feel that it's very, very significant that such questions, such observations have started coming. And this itself shows how Corona, I mean, it did a lot of harm to us. We have been suffering under forced captivity for 2 months, more, we don't know how long it will go, etc. But one good thing it has done is it has remade us think about our own pristine, important, vital connection with nature. And I think we have started looking at nature in the way we never had time for. So it's $1 million question that do we need to get back to a recovery pathway of development where we will very soon lose this premium we have got because of the lockdowns and recessions and all that. And I think the question also points to the fact that maybe all possible recoveries, economic or of health services or of systems of entitlement provision, etc., would have to strike a new kind of balance between built environments and the ecology and the environment which surrounds them. I don't think we should take our ecology and environment for granted in the way India rapidly kind of unplugged itself to urban kind of situation. I think we should not do that, and maybe COVID is a very strong reminder and a milestone in our possible thinking that we should own up and put environment and ecology at the center of our economic and other recoveries possible. Thank you.
Okay, so one more question that is very interesting question, I think a lot of question has been answered by the speaker itself during the conversation. But there is a Abdesh Kumar Patel asking that is a Manrega effective to all rural person? So anyone want to reply or shall I?
Yep, you please go ahead, sir.
Okay, fine. Actually, Manrega is is effective to all the rural person who need it, who seek it basically. Okay. Yeah, Rahul. Yeah. And to the migrant labor coming back to the year, they have to got registered, and they have to register with the Gram Panchayat itself, and they can get the work, And if they don't get the job work, they will get the allowance also. That is the the unemployment allowance, And majority of the states are following it, and they get the the allowance also. Yeah. Someone asked that, okay, how much rural management professionals are helping in the policy making and the year. Yes, you are very right, that if you see in the government sector, if you see in the international organization, if you see in the national level organization, the MBA rural management, the professionals are there and they are helping. They are in the different think tank, the steering team, and they are contributing in the policy making. But before contributing in the policy making, they have to first learn it from the field itself. Unless you learn it from the field, unless then you can't contribute it, and that is my perception is. Okay, shall we take more question? Yeah, there's a lot of people.
Just to add on the NREGA question, sir, Gautam sir, just to add on the NREGA thing,
please.
I think NREGA is going to be a very important vehicle for post-COVID recovery. And I think that states are definitely on with both the things. They are talking about increasing the number of man days which are given to NREGA. And also, and more important, also they are trying to expand the scope of NREGA, meaning you can do many more things in the rural setting with NREGA, and the skill which Neeraj indicated are now accessible to the rural area. So I think NREGA in fact can be a very good way in which post-COVID rural urban interdependency and interlinkages can be recarved and strengthened. For instance, even the Diwali wanted cold storages to be made in rural India so that the pro-poor market chains can run well. I mean, it can be possible with maybe NREGA funds also. So I think it's a very
okay.
Sir, I think
Sir, I just want to add one thing on NREGA point.
yeah, please.
So I also look for NREGA convergence work with NRLM. As rightly said by Sadhu sir, that if person doesn't get a job, he get a stipend. But apart from this, there is a project Unnati called. It provides self-employment training for the workers who has completed 100 days in previous year. Like in 18-19, the workers who have completed 100 days, they can get the skill development training through RCETs, which are centrally governed rural institutes of Government of India, KVKs, and other apex bodies of rural development. So likewise, RSLDC. So there is a scope where NREGA can benefit all the people of rural area, and I feel it will going to be a boon in this period. I see as a boon to the people who are underskilled in rural areas.
Okay, great. I would the next question. Thank you, Tarun.
सर गौतम सर इंद्रजीत के लिए एक कोई सवाल है जो इंद्रजीत को बार बार पूछा जा रहा है. I don't know, Indrajit, have you seen this question, Indrajit?
Which question, sir? I have seen one dentist has asked what is the future.
Yes, yes. Correct. No,
so why are you being? I know you have a lot of knowledge on. You have a knowledge on pharmaceuticals. You have a knowledge on health. So maybe you. I mean, why have they asked you this question? Do you want to answer it?
Yes. For that, I will see MB is always give you a cutting edge for the development any sector. If I have seen many doctors who did the professional course like MBA, and they have excelled in their career like anything. Recently, I come across with the one dentist only. They came for our project only. Did management from Kerala, and he now he is this one got placed in WHO. So there is a because if you what I'm saying, like there is a huge opportunity in health sectors in coming days. So those who are having a little background of this clinical things or medicines, all those things, so they can easily place. But simply this degree or this clinical things will not give them a prominent career in future. So management degree is must if you are not looking to do your practice or do your clinical practice in future. So if you are seeing your career elsewhere, then you must go for MBA. It will give you further opportunity to grow.
Good. I think next question I would like that Deepali could answer. Ramesh Kumar Rathore, how to work in the tribal remote area like Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand, etc. as a rural management professional?
Yeah, it is a good question indeed. And I also had a past experience of working in the tribal areas of Madhya Pradesh near Chhindwara. So my quick points or submission on this question will be that the tribal community is supposed to be the very responsive community other than as compared to the other communities, because they are having a clean mindset. If you will, whatever you will give, they will understand and they will act on it, because they are very hardworking persons, and they are also very sincere. So while I was in MP, so we are having a program on rural transformation through agriculture development under Reliance Foundation program. So I was alone handling the 4 villages. So there are a mix of community. One is the Gond tribes I was working with there. They are so my practice of working with them is उनके बहुत सारे खुद के कल्चरल और कुछ चीजें होती है, अगर आप वो समझ जाएंगे तो और उनको समझ के आप अपने काम को रिलेट करेंगे, वो कोई भी काम हो, आपका खेती के विषय में हो कि आपका स्वास्थ्य के विषय में हो, तो उनके कल्चरल चीजों को या उनके डायनेमिक्स को समझ के अगर आप अपने प्रोग्राम डिजाइन करेंगे, अपने एक्टिविटी डिजाइन करेंगे, इट विल हेल्प यू मच इन गेटिंग कनेक्टेड विद देम वेरी मच, बिकॉज वो बाहर वालों पे जल्दी भरोसा नहीं करेंगे, वो खुद पे जल्दी भरोसा करते हैं। तो अगर उनका ट्रस्ट गेन करना है, उनके साथ काम करना है, तो आपको उनके जो एग्जिस्टिंग डायनेमिक्स है, एग्जिस्टिंग प्रैक्टिसेस है, उसमें आपको ढलना पड़ेगा। दिस इज अ वेरी वेरी क्विक थिंग व्हिच आई लर्नड
Thank you. There is a question from Saurabh Kumar Sahu. Sir, can you please explain what behavioral change will be there in the people after the pandemic and how it will affect people in the daily life? You know, anyone want to answer, because it's needed?
Sir, Gautam sir, you please say. Please
Okay.
say.
So I think you see a behavioral change, communication, the role will be changed. You know, you need a different type of BCC. And I think, Saurabh, I will send you the answer, the total BCC model itself. So I will send you, if you can send me your email address, you know, I will send you the different model. I think that will be much easier to understand. Mohammad Saunaj want to ask, what will be the fate of research and development after COVID-19? Anyone want to answer?
I just have one point for this question. Rest can take away after that. The research field is of very much important post-COVID era. And if we talk about it, then comes the market research, because it is very much important nowadays to just know that what is the consumer behavior, how it is changing, what is the demand, what is the supply gap. So these things will help, learning these things through research will help you evolve either as a consultant. You can just propose a new project. You can help the enterprise, agri startups, governments, etc. So this is a very good field if anyone seeks to go further with.
Okay.
Further submissions are also welcome on this.
Thank you. There is a question called, during COVID-19, what is the employment status? You know, so let me add here that if we are talking about the migrant labor, and you know, and do you believe that how much they contribute? They contribute the 6% of our GDP. Right. If you see the GDP of the education plus the health sector of our union, the budget, it's come only 1%. So see how much they contributed, you know, and not only in the construction, in the agriculture sector also. 7% of the agriculture labor in the Punjab are from the outside state, you know. So their contribution was much, you know, and their employment status was not good at present, you know. That's why we all are planning to see that They should get the employment. They should not be in hunger. But government has also taken a lot of good steps, And let me tell you that at least I could say that the rural management professionals came in very front, and they are fighting in the policy level, in the implementation level, in supporting level, and also in the humanitarian ground also, So they are really doing the good.
Okay, sir. Thanks. So, I think we can live with the questions which are there already. I didn't want to because we are almost nearing. In fact, we have passed 10 minutes from the time. I wanted to take this opportunity to ask my four special visitors who have that. Are there any good things you remember about IHMAR? Do you remember us? Do you remember the course? Would you like to recommend young people that you come and study in IHMAR? What are your feelings about IHMAR now, sitting in different places?
Sir, can I ask? Can I reflect?
Please, all of you say some things.
Yes, sir. So, sir, IHMR में रहने का जो एक्सपीरियंस है वो हमेशा से एक यूनिक एक्सपीरियंस रहा है और जब कभी भी हम बात करते हैं चाहे इंद्रजीत से हो चाहे किसी से भी बात हो, दीपाली से हो, दीपल से हो, तरुण से हो, तो IHMR की जो कनेक्टिविटी है, वहाँ का जो एनवायरनमेंट है, वहाँ का जो एटमॉस्फेयर है, वो अपने आप में एक यूनिक है और वो मेमोरीज जो है हम सोचते हैं कि हम फिर से कॉलेज की उस दुनिया में आ जाएं ताकि वो फिर से वो जो टाइम है वो रिवाइव हो जाए। तो काफी अच्छी पे लर्निंग है, काफी अच्छा एक्सपीरियंस है, वहाँ की जो फैकल्टी की जो टीम है वो बहुत अच्छी है और सबसे मेन इंपॉर्टेंट है कि वहाँ पर रिसर्च और टीचिंग दोनों एक साथ चलते हैं, तो यू विल हैव अ ड्यूल एक्सपीरियंस ऑफ लर्निंग research as well as theory of a module, and meanwhile IHMR also organize field exposure to learn something during your study. So मेरे हिसाब से IHMR का जो environment है वो टीचिंग के लिए बहुत अच्छा है और स्टूडेंट्स को मतलब किसी तरीके का कोई वो नहीं होना चाहिए। थैंक यू सर।
You can answer one more question. There is a Pradipta Bhattacharya. He is asking that on getting approval of a project become more difficult. Moreover, on the duration of the project will get affected. So I want to ask you that during your the course at the IHMR MBA Rural Management, you learned how to prepare the proposal also, and do you think that's helped in getting the funding or the proposal? Anyone?
So Dipali, what do you think about IHMAR? What do you?
That is
So
skill.
I will take this thing first, proposal wala. So the modules of research and proposal writing are very much valuable actually, because when you are in a field, you are doing many things apart from implementation. So and if you are hired with some research based organization, then there you are working as a fundraiser. So in that job, you have to write various proposals for the events, for the project, etc. So I had my personal experience of writing various proposals for that, and it is good actually. The learning from the IHMR only, how to write a proposal and how to review itself, uska quality kaise improve karna hai, kya template rahega, these basic things are well taught in the organization, और वो बहुत काम करती हो कि आपको फील्ड में कोई तुरंत बताता नहीं है कि कैसे लिखा जाता है. You are the whole soul accountable person to get on it. So my one of the proposal also got shared with the agriculture minister in the Jodhpur. So for the fellowship on agriculture. So I am as I left the organization, so not aware that whether it worked it or not. But yeah, I got many possible options to write the proposal for both government and the corporates. And IHMR has a good pedagogy and module for the same. Now coming back to the other point about IHMR, so the most thing which I miss is the campus life. It has a beautiful campus in the college and in the hostel, all across. The second thing is the teachers, professors, and the mentors, because they bring on the table a wide industry knowledge, and various updates modules are designed that you get to learn the holistic thing concerned with the development studies, and the field studies, exposures, your internship, dissertation, everything is so well planned that you got to learn so much about every topic. And especially the modules, when at the end of the modules, the way you present, the way teams are made, and the questions which each other ask, the cross learning is also so good among the students, and various students come from the different states, so there you got to learn from their state specific updates also. So it was altogether a very good thing which
Yes,
I
yes.
miss. Actually, the academic life is very good.
Dipali, you are very right. Students are from the 23 states here. There's a very interesting question anyone can answer. Pooja is asking, what sort of skill development training will be applicable in the rural development sector and the rural management, and what is the expected outcome out of it? So who want to answer? What sort of skill development training will be applicable in the rural
I
development?
think Tarun, if Tarun can help us in this question.
Can you please repeat the question, sir? I
What
didn't
sort of
get it.
skill as a
Yeah.
professional and as a training also will be applicable in the rural development sector? But as a professional also, what type of skill you needed to become a rural management professional? Okay,
Right.
take you 2-3 questions together,
Yeah. The things, thank you, sir. The things that has been talked earlier: empathy, multitasking, implementer, are some major points that rural professionals should have in for this course to pursue. And I feel that empathy is the major part. Empathy towards the field, empathy towards the poor, empathy towards their job, and uh, multitasking is also a good, wisely taken step to progress in this field.
Good. There are 2 questions, Rahul. I would want to ask, which sector of the economy would like to recover the fastest and which is the slowest? And can you please highlight few points of academic sector, especially teaching professionals, after doing this rural management course?
Indrajit, please say.
Sir, I couldn't understand the question exactly. What exactly they?
Suppose you want to develop your, the career in the academic sector, I think this rural management course will help you in developing in the academic sector also.
Yes, definitely, sir. Because this is the master course. Because lots of the university where you can work as a faculty member and do the further study also. So definitely, this is the right platform and base to succeed in academician and do further study also. There are many universities. So I think definitely.
Neeraj, would you want
Yes,
to
yes,
add to it? Neeraj,
Yes,
please.
yes. For those who want to develop their career in academics, I will suggest them to please prepare at least 1 or 2 years for NET JRF. Okay, so I hope you heard about the NET JRF, and you can write your NET in either in social work, because most of the syllabus of the social work is similar to rural development, or you can write the exam in management also, because most of the subjects will similar to management also. So I think UGC NET is a good platform to develop your career in academics, and after that you will have one more choice to do PhD or MPhil in particular subject, because right now in every university, and I think in after 2020 or maybe 21, it will be compulsory to become a professor. You should have a PhD degree. So I think that you should try to use the UGC NET at least once if you want to make a career in academics.
Yes, thank you. I want to add it here that the IHMR universities also offer the PhD in the rural management, and a lot of students are doing under the guidance of the faculty also. So that they have added it,
Shall I add something, sir?
Yeah, sir, please.
Can I add one line? Rural management courses and masters do now tell you that there are new frontiers which people, young professionals have to work on. And research and a career in research is certainly one very, very important area which is opening up after this. And masters in rural management gives you a very good kind of a base in doing or higher studies in development studies or agribusiness or food security, whatever. So I think this is the area which people should look at.
Yes, sir.
Rahul, Professor Rahul, there's a question, a lot of question. That is, sir, may I get the e-certificate for this webinar or not? So,
I will not know it. I mean, we'll get back to you. But sir, I mean, I think we are already 20 minutes past the time. So I think I don't want to miss this opportunity to catch one line from all of these four about IHMR. I mean, one line which conjures up and imagines, if you are telling about IHMR to somebody, one line, if you can communicate what you imagine about IHMR.
From my side, I will tell go for it.
Sorry?
Go for it.
Go for it.
From my side, this is what I am. I am because of IHMR.
Sir, yes, Deepali, tell.
No, you carry on, then I will take after you.
Yes. Sir, IHMR ki goons, only one line I can tell you IHMR ki goons, because the experience of goons I cannot forget.
I will also say that it helped me a lot to know my potential, my capacity, and I am what I am because of IHMR. So many thanks actually.
Okay, with that thought, I'll formally thank all of you who are young professionals going great guns. I can see that, and many thanks for joining us. And we hope that the online medium will make us interact more frequently, because we are people who are busy. So Gautam sir, thank you.
yeah, I want to add one thing, Rahul sir.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, there are around 700 people who participate in through webinar and the Facebook. 750 plus. So yeah, there was a lot of interest in this, and I think we must organize the series of webinar taking the different.
Sure. Thank you all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. It's our
Thank you,
pleasure.
sir.
Thank you,
Thank you
sir.
so much.